The most wonderful time of the year. Although, let's be honest, around the holidays, things really add up. But here's the good news. Only at Verizon, you can get a single line for $50 per month when you switch and bring your phone. So, while ice skating for two is definitely costing more, here at Verizon, you can save. Gifts for your third cousins? Steep. A single line with Verizon? Not so steep. A real tree? Pricey. A single line with Verizon? Less pricey. Flights to see Meemaw and Pops? Those are up. A $50 per month single line? That's down. Even a trip to the Atlanta Holiday Market will cost you more. But with Verizon, you can switch and bring your phone for just $50 per month for a single line on unlimited welcome, with autopay plus taxes and fees. All this to say, during the holiday season, when everything is costing more, you can get more for less right now at a local Verizon store. $15 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G, 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply.
Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Ladies and gentlemen! Welcome to the main event! This is Cinesmack! And the winner is...
Hello, Cinesmacketeers, and welcome to bout number 119 of Cinesmack, the podcast about films by filmmakers. I am your host, Mike Keeler. Joining me tonight is our panel of award-winning judges. First, filmmaker and owner of One Genome Short Productions, Gabe. Pregnant by Guy? This is horrible. How is it possible? Roald.
Hello, Cinesmackers. I'm going to see Guy.
Second,
an angel.
Like an angel, yes.
Exactly. How
Second,
do you think I got my name?
writer, actor, and director, Kyle. Jazz is about the future. Fine.
Hey, that's fitting because I just want to say I hate jazz.
Third, filmmaker and owner of Arizona Ink Studios, Andrew. All that swinging gave. I screwed that up because all that singing gives me a pain. I like movies better, Zumwalt.
Well, I hate the opera, but people love what other people are passionate about. So
There you go. Fourth, filmmaker and owner of Cheshire Moon Films, Tom. No, Jamal, you be trippin', Haggis.
I limp a little now.
is your knee like a barometer?
It is, in that it's big and round and has a bunch of numbers on it.
All right, let's poke the monkey, find out what we're discussing this month.
Ladies and gentlemen, singers and soldiers, welcome to the main event. Tonight, two musicals take each other on, note for note. Which of them will be pitch perfect and which will be a little flat? In the first quarter, from 2016, written and directed by Damien Chazelle, starring Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone, and Rosemary DeWitt. La La Land! In the second quarter, from 1964, written and directed by Jacques Demy, starring Catherine Deneuve, Nino Castelnuovo, and Anne Vernon, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg.
As we were talking in the pre-show, I've not seen either one of these films until we watched them for this episode. So I look forward to hearing from all of you what you thought. And I know that there is one person that has a lot to say about one of these movies. And I'm going to let him start things off with our first round, which is writing.
All right. So, yeah, welcome everybody to Cinejerk, where we talk about the assholes of New Wave French cinema and the douchebags they inspired. Here's the thing. So I started watching Umbrellas of Cherbourg, and I had not seen it. And I was interested in seeing it because Damien Chazelle, the writer-director of La La Land, had... It's a big influence. It's his favorite movie, and there's obviously a lot of influence on La La Land in Umbrellas. And so I was kind of curious as to what kind of movie would inspire a movie like La La Land. Story-wise, I think there's a lot to really like about La La Land, and I think that's what pisses me off so much about that movie. I think the cinematography is great. I think the choreography is fun. I think the music is kind of meh, but the music kind of meh in Umbrellas too, so that's consistent. But I think that the problem that I have with La La Land is that it's a really great movie. I love it, and I wanted to love it up until the last 5 seconds of the movie. And I've gone online and I've tried to look for like other people that kind of think the same way. So I don't know if I'm alone in this, but I didn't find a lot of people that really hate, because La La Land's very polarizing, and a lot of people that love and hate La La Land seems to be all based on whether or not the two of them wind up together. And that doesn't piss me off, because it's a more realistic story if they don't wind up together, or if they wind up together, that's a good story too. What really pisses me off more than anything else, and I'll probably talk about this several times, is that they have that look in the bar, and they just kind of like nod to each other, and they fucking walk away. And they don't say a single word to each other. And it's like, these two people were so influential in each other's lives. And they left, the last thing he says to her on the bench is like, "I'll always love you." And she's like, "I'll always love you." Cool. But when we bump into each other later, let's just pretend we don't know each other. Like, who fucking does that? Like, assholes do that. These two are fucking assholes. And it's like, you and you're both very successful, and you're both very indebted to the other person. And I think it speaks volumes to her about her fucking marriage. Like, her marriage is she's so insecure in her marriage that she can't be like, "Oh, hey husband, who I love so much, this is that guy that I've told you about." And like what an insult to that guy. Like, he's a total fucking chump, because he's just like, "Was that the jazz guy that you keep fucking talking about?" Like, what? It's just absolutely infuriating. Like, I don't know why they don't even fucking go up and say, "Oh my God, it's been so long. Thank you for so much. You're so successful. I see you everywhere. Blah, blah, blah." But they don't. How is that an ending? The story in Umbrellas of Cherbourg is great. So
he summarized one.
Sorry, I need to let somebody else talk. But I have to tell you, I have yet to find the director or the producers validate why they are such douchebags at the end.
Well, he was always kind of a little bit of a douche through the whole movie, kind of, wasn't he?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But I kind of chalk that up to kind of like stereotypical like male inability to express emotion, and that he had to kind of bottle it up and a little bit and not really express what he really felt and what he really wanted. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. This is the first time I've ever seen Umbrellas of Cherbourg. I had seen La La Land before, and like I said, kind of during the hype of when it was like hyped for Oscars and that kind of thing. And I remember being a little bit underwhelmed the first time I saw La La Land. I was like, well, it's pretty good, but it's not as good as everybody keeps saying it is, And but upon a subsequent viewing, I think I liked it a little bit more. But it's another one of those. I don't know if it's a Ryan Gosling thing, But it's another one of those Ryan Gosling films that kind of is really a little bit depressing to me. Earlier on, we did Blue Valentine for the podcast. And talk about depressing. It's just like, it was just so sad. And I kind of felt the same way a little bit about La La Land. You know, it has this really kind of, like Tom mentioned, unresolved ending. And this really kind of bittersweet kind of ending where they just kind of walk away from each other and just kind of have to move on from this relationship. And I find it a bit of a downer. And I don't know, maybe that says something about me or what I expect out of films. You know, maybe I'm a bit of a hopeless romantic and I want it to end in an unrealistic, happy way or something. I don't know. But I found La La Land beautifully shot. I think it's pretty well written. I thought it was a little cliche. Sometimes I'm a little concerned about movies that are about, films and filmmaking to a certain degree, because she wants to be an actor, and then I feel like these actors these writers and directors are kind of, they're having a hard time coming up with good material, and so they have to resort to what they live every day, and so that concerns me a little bit. But I don't know. We've only got a few minutes left, so I will stop and let others share their thoughts. Anyone? Kyle? Anyone?
Do I have any thoughts about these films? Let me plumb my brain. So, the characters in La La Land are really frustrating to me. Ryan Gosling is almost... he's a jazz hipster who is, like you mentioned, written in a way that he has problems expressing emotion, but to a comical degree, and it immediately falls away as soon as he gets to know this woman. So it's like so paper thin, and there's not much change there. That really kind of bugs me a bit, because I feel like he could do better. Like it could be done better. The drive of La La Land to me is the set pieces, and they are beautiful. The choreography and especially the opening, blew me away. I thought it was so cool. But the movie almost forgets it's a musical for a lot of its runtime, and then kind of dips back into it when it's convenient. Whereas Umbrellas of Cherbourg, which I have never seen or heard of in my life, is the most musical I've ever heard, because they sing for an hour and a half, and there's literally nothing left to the imagination. They talk about every emotion they're having, every thought they have, every opinion they have on every thought they have, which was kind of shocking. It took me 50% of the movie to really get into it, because it was so jarring to see a movie start that way, and you're like, oh, this isn't a musical like Grease is a musical where there are story parts and singing parts. This is a musical in where everyone sings everything they think out loud for an hour and a half. And I've never seen a movie like that before, so I'll give it points for originality in that I've never seen a movie that's done that before. Nor do I think I want to see another one, because it's very it's taxing. It's taxing. It's like, whistling, how it's fun to whistle, but it annoys everybody else. The only person who's not annoyed by whistling is the whistler. So to these people, maybe this sounds great, but it's annoying as shit to me that you sing everything you think. Also, they're not really songs. They're literally just singing the dialogue. Which is bizarre. It's like these people they live in a city where some scientist testing has gone on, and they all have some brain injury where they have to sing now instead of talk. Did something happen in Cherbourg?
Mixing them with birds.
Yes, it's odd.
I can only sing.
So
it's an odd choice.
So wasn't there a nuclear reactor meltdown in Cherbourg?
That would make sense.
Yeah, I don't think I think that's a different.
Oh, I'm not. I'm thinking something else. I'm thinking something else.
Yeah.
Chernobyl. The Umbrellas of Chernobyl.
They're similar. Umbrellas.
That'd be great. A musical.
The umbrellas. The
sing.
umbrellas did not help.
Yeah, these are not lead-lined umbrellas.
Yeah.
Also,
No, but
lady,
everyone's singing.
you wonder
Everybody's
why
singing.
They don't help with
you
the
wonder
acid
why you're
rain.
poor, lady. You own a shop that exclusively sells umbrellas. What
In
a
a town?
niche market.
In a town where it never stops raining.
So
I mean, I suppose that's a good place to have an umbrella store, but Jesus, you got to diversify a bit. Also, you spent all your money on wallpaper.
Like
The
raincoats.
wallpaper in that movie
Yeah.
is out of this world.
So I'm just going to say 2 points. One is La La Land. The only thing that I would say that mostly drove me nuts, besides some of the things you've already mentioned, was there are so many times when the two characters could just have a conversation and it would resolve the situation.
Yeah.
It felt very forced to create conflict when all it would take in normal worlds, people would just, whether they're good at sharing their feelings or not, they would just have a conversation and it would just be done.
Yep.
So, and going with Umbrellas, I want to point out, I don't really consider Umbrellas to be a musical. I have never seen it either. This is the first time I'd ever seen it. Umbrellas is absolutely an opera, and there is a strong, there's a difference between a musical and an opera. And an opera, in most traditional ways, an opera sings all of their dialogue, and that is one of the bigger differences between a musical and an opera in itself. But because there is spoken dialogue normally in a musical, so when I came in as a musical, I was expecting more of a traditional musical, but it's definitely an opera.
Did it take anybody else a few minutes to realize they were singing?
It took me a minute to not realize that they weren't done with the first song. I was like, wow, this is a really big overture and they're singing away. And then they started having a normal, and I'm like, oh, they're not going to stop.
Oh, they're not going to stop singing.
This is
They're
an
mechanics.
opera. Okay.
I just can't believe like they're such assholes. Just I'm sorry, but the chirp were assholes too. In 3 months, and she's like, well, fuck ye, and it's like, what? So I don't.
Yeah.
That was, they were assholes too. But La La Land, I don't know. The problem with I just say to get that far into the movie, that close to the finish line, and then just be like, forgetting their common decency it's unforgivable. Fucking Damien Chazelle.
All right, let's put it to a vote. Tom.
Who the fuck do you think I'm going to vote for? Umbrellas of Cherbourg. Umbrellas.
All right. Kyle.
You know, there's an art to some simplicity in storytelling sometimes. So I am going to vote for Los Umbrellas de Cherbourg.
No.
Ooh, trilingual.
Gabe.
Yeah.
Which version did you watch? Well, we'll get into that
Oh,
later. About
yeah, when they
watching a
sung it-
musical in another language, that's a mess. That messes with your brain.
Yeah. Talk about a movie with a barrier to entry to foreign audiences. How about a French subtitled film where they sing every
Yes.
word?
Exactly.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Gabe.
Wow. I haven't really thought about this. This category in particular, I don't know. I think I'm actually going to go with La La Land because I think, generally speaking, most of the writing is a little bit superior. But I don't know. La La
Right.
Land for me.
Andrew.
Les Poissons, the Umbrellas of Cherbourg.
All right.
We can give it to Umbrellas for being kind of original. Like it's an earlier one. I don't know.
Are you changing your vote, Gabe? Are you changing your vote, Gabe?
I don't know. I wasn't really super sure in the first place, but I think I'm going to stick with La La Land.
In Umbrellas of
Are you
Cherbourg.
sure you want to do that?
Yes, pretty sure. I see you. You do not intimidate.
In Umbrellas of Cherbourg, Roland tells Genevieve's mother he once loved a woman named Lola. Lola is a demi-film from 1961 in which Mark Michel plays the same character of Roland. There's not a lot of trivia for the Umbrellas of Cherbourg.
I'd never heard of this
character. So he's making a reference. That character is making a reference to another movie.
Correct.
It's a sequel. It's a sequel, right?
There's so much of the dialogue in Umbrellas that they realize that they're singing and they actually like call it out, especially at the beginning.
Damien Chazelle and Justin Hurwitz came up with the idea of the film during their senior year at Harvard University in 2010, with Hurwitz writing the musical tracks and Chazelle on dialogue. Initially, they found 2 financial backers and a producer for a budget of $1 million. However, the demand for a lot of script changes made them drop the project off. After Whiplash found critical success, the project was resurrected with the studio increasing the budget to $30 million. This allowed the filmmakers to rent the Griffith Observatory for filming. A full day rental there cost $10,000.
That's it.
Wow.
And I've been there, and it's amazing. I love that place.
It's a fantastic building.
Yeah.
All right. Next 48 hour. We're gonna run it.
Oh god.
Hey, that's cheating. You can't. You can't.
Yeah, can't pay.
Oh
for
yeah,
it.
you can have your locations lined up, can't you?
Yeah.
Yep.
But talk about shoehorning a location into a script.
No doubt. No doubt. Okay,
guys,
so
we got a Western. We're fucked.
It's fine.
Western
They traveled to another
astronomer would be
planet.
kinda cool.
Yeah.
all right, let's move on to our second round, which is acting.
Boy, it's hard to judge people acting when they're doing this the whole time. Okay.
I don't know. I could judge that.
We should be singing the entire podcast, right?
Jesus. Oh my God. We should have started though and not mentioned it and just all did it the whole night because that's how you do it. All right, let's start with La La Land. The acting in La La Land is perfectly passable. Ryan Gosling is almost sarcastic in his performance and like so deadpan's not the right word, but I don't know what to call it. He gives a decent performance of a, to me, really one-dimensional character. He likes jazz. Awesome. It's great. You like jazz. Emma Stone is fine. I think she's good. I really like the callback to movies of the 50s and 60s where, you know, performers sung and danced. I could not tell if these are the real voices of the actors and actresses. Maybe Mike has some trivia on that. I'm not sure. But I couldn't tell whether or not they were really singing. Is this really them or something else? Because, you know, you don't ever know if they have a really good singing voice. Famously, George Clooney was dubbed when he did the Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? But I loved the set pieces. I think the other people in the movie, let's say the secondary characters, are almost non-existent in La La Land. It's all about these two people. So it's hard to judge like the whole ensemble. But I thought the leads did a fine job. I mean, I don't think it was anything remarkable. I don't think anybody should have been nominated for an Academy Award. Now, moving to the Umbrellas of Cherbourg, I've never seen two people who are so awkwardly handsy with each other when expressing their love. I just felt like they had no chemistry together at all. And maybe part of that is the fact that they have to sing an inch and a half from each other's face for an hour and a half, because the distance between people in this movie, especially people who are not in love, was kind of shocking at some points. Singing right into each other's mouths, I don't know how that works out.
We see that.
Would that have bothered you a year ago, though?
Yeah, exactly.
No, right. Coronavirus has changed my perspective on how close these people are. Again, it's hard for me to judge their acting when they're singing every line. I will say, if they are singing these and these are live tracks, they did a remarkable job to get all of that down and remember all of that, because remembering dialogue is difficult enough. Having to sing it in a certain cadence, I mean, I don't know which came first, the movie and then they put the music underneath it. That seems most likely to me, because otherwise how you would fit all of these scenes to the music that already exists would be very difficult. I don't know the answer to that, but the acting in Umbrellas kind of threw me a bit because I felt like people didn't have much chemistry. There wasn't a whole lot of eye-catching acting, nothing that like stood out to me. And I think the singing got in the way of a lot of their emoting. It kind of left me with a sour taste.
Yeah, it absolutely was a track because there were specific times when they would sing and the music would fade out as they would sing. And then when they stopped their singing line, it would fade back in. But to answer your question, in La La Land, yes, Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling both sang their parts. Now, what? You said it didn't have a lot of trivia. I was trying to help him, bro. I looked a lot of stuff up when there was all the Oscar buzz for the movie. I've seen Emma Stone act, I've seen Ryan Gosling act, and I've seen them act in much better roles. And so I know they have better chops. This was just kind of lackluster to me for them. But I would say that some of their technical qualities of, the choreography and their dancing abilities was quite, I think Kyle said it in the last category, the beginning of it, like you watch it and you're just like, wow, it's bright and shiny. And the dance at the park bench is just, it's phenomenal. And it makes it seem like this movie is going to be amazing. And then it just kind of goes downhill from there. And I don't necessarily know if that's the actors or if it's just the story, because the acting was just kind of, the acting in Umbrellas, I don't know. It definitely felt like they were almost pantomiming the whole thing because they had to sing it. And so I guess when you're singing and trying to act at the same time and trying to be on set instead of on stage, I guess that would pose an extra level of concentration that, I don't know. I think it would be really difficult, but especially because I'm guessing they weren't singing live in the 60s. And it was just, I mean, no one really specifically stuck out to me. There are some very beautiful women. There's some very handsome, stereotypical guys that, in that, nobody stuck out that I was like, oh my God, they were terrible. What were they doing in this film? Guy was fine.
The mailman
the mailman.
Okay. Did he sing his lines? He did, didn't he?
The mailman.
Yeah, I think everybody did.
Roland was just kind of, he had the evil mustache and everything, the evil French mustache. It was just kind of like, okay.
But he's not evil. He's actually a decent guy.
He's the only decent guy.
Villain.
He's
true.
The
only decent person in the entire movie.
It's true. He married her, even though, and I get it. And it's just, like I said, no one directly stuck out at me. But I've seen way worse performances. I would definitely say that Ryan and Emma, they can do better. And I know they can. I've seen them do better. So.
Yeah, I think, if there's any way to get Madeline and Roland together, I think that's the tragedy of Umbrellas of Cherbourg, is that Madeline and Roland never wound up together. Because if he knew about Madeline, they'd be like, fuck those two assholes.
Yeah. They'd have been perfect. Just two really nice, genial people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just like, hey, did you ever get over her? Yeah, I'm going to name my kid Francois, though. And like, cool, so did she. And it's like, So, one of the things, that La La Land got in a lot of trouble for was casting two white actors, and particularly Ryan Gosling's character. Don't fuck off, Mike. I'm going to talk about this. So, just think about if La La Land had Kiki Lane and Michael B. Jordan in it. I mean, it would be such a better movie coming from him, and then put Ryan Gosling in the John Legend role, dragging his ass around playing keyboards. I think, there's a lot of really good acting in La La Land, and again, the reason the reasons that going back to the reasons that I hate La La Land is that it's such a good movie right up to the very end, and I just you know, but it's like what Andrew said. He's that Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling can do so much better than this. It looks like they had a lot of fun doing it, but you know, it just the ends just ruins it for me. And as far as the acting in Umbrellas, I think there's something to be said that this movie, that we're talking about this movie in 2020. I mean, it's not unlikely that this movie could have got lost to time. I mean, there's obviously some redeeming value in it, and there's something engaging about it that people are still talking about it, and Criterion Collection has it, and it's, you know, a preserved and celebrated film. I don't know that acting is one of the things in it they're particularly good, but the fact that they were able to say, we're going to do a movie, we're going to sing through the entire thing, and you want to know something? 80 years from now, people are still going to be talking about this movie. 3 years from now, people are going to be talking about this movie. So,
whatever
anyway,
happened to Ellen Farner?
Ellen Farner?
Yeah, the girl that played Madeline.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe Mike has something in trivia about.
Oh,
did she kill? I think she killed like 60 people, didn't she?
She kind of didn't really do much after this, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I think she went and she like killed an orphanage or burned it down or something.
It's the quiet ones.
Yeah, I can see the look on Mike's face. That's exactly what she did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So. Anyway, I think you know the acting, being able to act and be able to sing like that. There's something to be said for it. But it's funny because we usually kind of hit the supporting acting, and we haven't really done much of that because, I mean, it's really just these few characters drive the.
I think the supporting acting is a lot stronger in Umbrellas just because there are actual supporting characters with things to do, other than John Legend in La La Land. It'd be hard pressed to really think about what did these secondary characters really bring to the story.
Well, like Ellen Farner, like Madeline, I thought was a great character and could have used a little bit more screen time.
Yeah, Umbrellas is a fairly short movie.
Yeah.
Which
let me
thankfully, because it's 90 minutes of talk singing.
Let me ask you a question. What if La La Land had been done with no-name actors? Like, do you feel like having huge names like Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling actually kind of hurts the, oh, I'm just a poor jazz musician, I'm just a no-name actress? It's really hard to watch Emma Stone behind the counter at a coffee shop and buy it. And just like going into an audition and not being able to do it, and that, I don't know, that part was a little bit of a hard sell. And I know there's tons of brilliant, genius, talented actresses out there that go through that every day, and that's what sucks about the system. But I don't know. I think it would have been more genuine if they had gotten an actor and actress from nowhere and put them in it. But then would we be talking about La La Land?
Were they trying to just? Sorry, go ahead. You haven't talked, so go ahead.
Mike, is this part of your trivia about Ryan Gosling actually playing piano? Did he actually play? And if he did, I want to give him props for that.
He did actually play.
Mike's in research now.
What was your answer, Mike?
He did play.
Yeah,
I have trivia for it
when it first came out, and I thought, well, I have to give him some props for that because, I mean, that wasn't exactly just like simple piano that he was playing. He was pretty good. I just didn't. I thought I like Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, and I think they're good, actors. But I just don't think for the musical thing that they were quite at the same level as, say, somebody like Gene Kelly or something, with the dancing and the choreography and the singing and all that. They weren't quite there. So that was just kind of my thought on
actually.
La La Land.
I actually saw in some trivia that they visited Gene Kelly's widow and she showed them a bunch of stuff before they started filming or something like that.
I could see that.
That changes my vote.
Yeah,
I can see that. I mean, but that style is definitely portrayed at the beginning.
It is
heavily, even more.
Yeah.
And you get into stuff like, well, we'll talk about later.
Yep. Do you want to say anything else about Umbrellas, Gabe? Just to give you a little extra time.
Well, I think the only thing about the acting for that was, and it's not even really acting, is Catherine Deneuve was, she was just so adorable. Just adorable.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, I just didn't, aside from that, I didn't really think there was too much as far as acting was concerned there.
I thought they both were.
I mean, both.
Guy's a handsome fella.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
A lot of the actors were attractive, but it is a little weird to, how do you act when you're singing all of your lines? It's this weird.
We saw.
Yeah, we watched it.
We saw what happens.
Yeah, you sing into each other's faces and you
a lot
move awkwardly and I don't know.
Boy, awkward movement and grabbing and rubbing each other's faces into each other and kissing of hands. It was very strange.
That might just be French. I don't know.
We don't know what's
musical. I don't know. It's just being.
That's not musical. That's just the French.
Just real quick. Yeah, Tom, I was rolling my eyes because there's always got to be controversy about something, but I agree with your suggestion for switching out Ryan Gosling. I think that would have been amazing.
Yeah, I think so. And I haven't really run up against a Ryan Gosling film I don't like, except for this one. But
well, fun fact: we've done 5 of them on this
podcast. Are you
podcast.
fucking kidding me?
Nope.
Which one?
Can you guys guess?
I knew Blue Valentine.
Blue Valentine.
Drive? Did we do Drive?
Drive.
Or not?
Drive. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Nice
that's
Guys?
another one where he's like weird and the relationship ends weirdly, and that's another one that's kind of like
We've done. You got. Well, here I'll give you this one because that counts. You need to think of 2 more.
Well, we haven't done the new Blade Runner on the show, so
No.
that would be one of them.
Right. We didn't do Nice Guys.
We have not done Nice Guys.
Oh,
We have
I
also
know I haven't seen that all the way through. I've
not
seen
done
part of it.
Gangster
That one.
Squad.
that's Shane Black. I love that one.
Ides of March.
Ides of March. Yep.
And anyone else want to guess? Oh, where is it? I had it on here. I was looking through it before you guys got on. I'm like, holy crap. Well, we haven't done The Notebook.
You haven't done The Notebook?
No.
Oh, you don't know what you're missing.
Doesn't we just pencil it in for February?
No,
Yeah.
we didn't do-
I'm already crying.
Okay, maybe it has only been 4. I could have swore there was 5. Whatever you do, Murder by Numbers, don't bring that up with Sam while he's drunk. Don't ever bring that up. Remember the Titans. There's the 5th one.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Totally forgot he was in that.
Let's put it to a vote. Kyle.
Passable, but I'm gonna vote for La La Land.
Okie dokie. Gabe.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go La La Land on this one too.
Andrew.
I'm also going to go with La La Land.
Tom.
Umbrellas.
He's going to have an aneurysm right now.
No, I'm not. Cool. That's cool. My next vote may surprise you even.
Catherine Deneuve was only 19 when this movie was made. She turned 20 a couple of days after filming ended. And in La La Land, Ryan Gosling plays a pianist and John Legend a guitarist. In real life, Legend is a classically trained pianist and Gosling is a guitarist. Both had to take training to play their new instruments. And I believe
They both picked them up pretty well. Although, you don't see John Legend playing guitar necessarily all that much.
correct, but
Not as much as you see Ryan playing piano.
I think John Legend mentioned that he was very frustrated with how fast Ryan Gosling learned to play the piano.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was no slouch, that's for sure.
No, there was no CGI. That was all him.
He's like, there are these guys, these Hollywood types that I want to hate because they're so attractive and so talented and they can do everything. But
Denzel.
What's that?
Denzel.
Yep.
That's
why you don't
right,
like Denzel.
right. No, I'm thinking more along the lines of like Brad Pitt and Justin Timberlake and all these guys that are pretty good at all kinds of things, and you just want to hate them, but they're also kind of nice guys. They seem like genuinely nice people, and so you're like, damn you, I want to hate you, but I can't.
Yeah, but then Justin Bieber walks in and you go, right. There's genuine people. Yep, I know there are people that deserve to hate.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
I'm
Thank
curious,
you, Tom.
Gabe, what do you think of John David Washington?
John David Washington. I'm not sure.
Did you see Black Klansman or Tenet?
I haven't seen either.
Okay, never mind then.
Why do you ask though? I'll
I
keep it in
didn't
mind.
know if you hated Denzel's brood as much as you disliked Denzel.
Oh no, that was totally misconstrued. But you can go with it.
Just so you know, I got through like 3 viewings of Tenet before I found out that was Denzel's son. Where I was like, what? And then now I watch Tenet and I go, oh shit, that's a Denzel line right there.
I really enjoyed Black Klansman.
Totally see Denzel.
Yeah, I haven't seen Tenet yet. We could talk about this later. But I've heard interesting things. Anyway.
So everyone with the last name Washington, you hate them as actors. Okay, we got it.
I remember the first thing
his
Gabe ever said to me. He goes, "My name is Gabe Rowald. George Washington was a horrible actor." And I knew from there, everyone with the last name Washington.
And that was Gabe. He was one of the weirdest men I ever knew.
And so I became
thing for George Washington's acting ability.
I became friends with him.
Given his eulogy, yeah, he sure did hate George Washington and his ability to emote.
He hated all of it.
Gabe loved everyone except
for
actors named Washington.
All right, let's move on to our third round, which is directing.
I think in this category we can talk a little bit about things like the cinematography, and I think that's very appropriate for both of these films. I think, and Tom and others have mentioned it about La La Land previously. The cinematography is really beautiful in La La Land. The lighting and the composition and the colors, the camera movement are all very, very top notch. When I was rewatching it this time, one of the shots that stood out to me is just a really kind of almost I think. Robert Rodriguez would refer to it as a dog shot or kind of a throwaway. There's a shot where they're having their dinner and they show a record playing, and it's like the grooves of the record with this dramatic lighting on it. And I'm like, just that one little shot was really, I noticed it and I thought, oh, that is a really good shot. I really like that shot. And it's. In the context of the film, it's kind of a throwaway. But I thought that the cinematography and the camera movement were really great in La La Land. I had mixed feelings about Umbrellas, and I'd like to hear your guys' thought on that too. Some of the shots and the camera movement were really very interesting. Some of these shots are really long takes of them doing these things where they're moving around certain environments and they're singing the whole time and the camera is following them, and they're really pretty well done. And that opening shot where the camera lifts up and then looks down on Cherbourg as people walk by under the rain and that kind of thing, that's a really cool shot. You could see some of the technical difficulties with that. You could see the rainwater kind of rushing off of some of the equipment or something, because it looked like it was rolling off of something. It didn't look like it was just rain falling out of the sky. But nevertheless, it was like a really cool shot, and they did it all as one take. But I didn't really like the lighting overall in Umbrellas of Cherbourg. It seemed very flat and very stagey, if you know what I mean. As well, the the sets felt that way too. In many cases, the sets felt very much like stage sets that they just lit very flatly and then just moved the actors around, you know. But I do give them a lot of credit, and it was kind of fun to see that 60s kind of vibe to it. And I think, like Tom mentioned earlier, that that had an influence on later musicals. The color schemes, the brightness of it, those kinds of things definitely had an influence later on down the road on other musicals. So I think, you know, for me in this category, the cinematography is something that kind of like stood out in both of these films.
Yeah, I think we've talked about similar movies that have had kind of that stage feel. Umbrellas very much felt like it was an opera on stage that they filmed. We talked about a similar feeling when we did Fences with Denzel Washington, actually, but how we felt it was very, very stage like, and you know it had that kind of feeling. I guess my take on all of it was they were trying to impose that operatic kind of feel. There were moments that you were watching in these people's lives that you were invading, and maybe that makes it more stage like, because in a movie you sometimes are with the character, sometimes you're looking at the character as an audience member. With Umbrellas, it felt very much like we were just always there, that fly on the wall. We were always just kind of looking in at somebody's life moments. And there was never really a moment of where it was like, oh, now you're with these people as they're having this conversation. You were just always kind of in the room. And that may be a style of the director. It may be the time period. But it very much was different when it comes to that part of the cinematography going through it. You were absolutely correct. Some of the shots, I was really impressed. Again, that opening shot as they go through like the cars and they go to the mechanics and then they walk into the building and he's washing up, and like that whole thing is just, I was like, wow, that's really impressive that they pulled all that off. La La Land is beautiful. There are some what you would consider your beauty shots. There are lots of them. There's a lot of really cool dancing and, you know, gorgeous shots. But again, all of that I feel like was jammed into the middle, and then they forgot that they were shooting a movie, and it just kind of all went downhill from there.
Yeah, you know, the Umbrellas did a really great job of you know, that color kind of just hits you for the first act, and then the second act, rather than just washing everything out and making it you know, the absence of color, they just kind of muted it just a little bit, just enough to kind of tamper down your emotion a little bit, and then it kind of comes back in the third act as, you know, Madeline and Guy start to figure out that they're each other's best second option. So I think the thing with the color in La La Land, it seems like it was kind of just done for the sake of doing it. Like, oh, you know, Umbrellas used a lot of colors, we're going to use a lot of colors, and it was used well, but it didn't seem to have any kind of meaning behind it at all. It was just, you know, splashes of color for the sake of splashes of color. That said, I think the choreography on La La Land is really, really great. And like what Gabe said, there are some really creative camera placement, and it wasn't, and those aren't like camera placement just like this will be a cool shot, but you know, sometimes when you've seen movies where a director's like, oh, this would be a really great shot, but you're just like, what the hell am I looking at? You know? But what Damien does a really great job of setting those shots up, but you know exactly what you're looking at. You know exactly where you are in space, and to his credit, that's to be admired. And it's something that he did in Whiplash really well. He did in First Man really, really well. So anyway, I think you know, you guys also talked about the camera movement in Umbrellas. That's something like it's 2020, and I would have trouble setting up some of those kind of wraparound twist shots and everything. And
yes,
and this is 1964. How in the hell did they get these smooth dollying tracking shots? Does anybody know what the deal was with the 3 parts of the movie where the focus shifted, where the focus like blurred out and then came back in? There's no reason to that. Anybody know? All right, somebody else talk for a second. I meant to Google that before we started.
Trivia about it, at least
What's
on
that?
IMDb. I did not find any trivia about it on IMDb.
Okay. Somebody else want to take over. I'm going to see if I can hit the nerd links.
Carl, what did you think?
What did I think? Well, I echo some of your sentiments. For sure, the camera movement and placement was very cool in both movies. Umbrellas of Cherbourg did a great job, and given the time period we're talking about, it's extraordinary to get that stuff done. It's very creative. And a lot of people say, filmmaking is problem solving, and this is a great example of having an idea of what you want to portray and finding a way to make it happen, or having a cool idea and pulling it off. I love that. I think there were some weird cutaway shots. There were some strange use of fades and Umbrellas of Cherbourg that were distracting. That made me go, huh? I don't get it. I don't get what emotion that's trying to convey to me. I don't get what it wants me to think. La La Land has all the hallmarks of a well-directed film. The set pieces are incredible, especially the opening one. I really enjoyed. I don't know that they got everything they could have gotten out of the lead actor and actress. And I don't know how much of that is just the writing or the tone they wanted to set or what, but it left me feeling like I wanted a bit more. I don't think it's a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination. I'll be honest, I was dreading watching these movies because musical romance films are like some of my least favorite films generally. But I was pleasantly surprised by both of them. Umbrellas of Cherbourg was very difficult for me to get into. Probably took me 40 minutes to settle into the movie and feel like I could really connect with it. I think a lot of that is just the barrier to entry is so high on it. It's a singing foreign language subtitled film, which requires a lot of your brain power to stay connected with it. I give it a lot of credit, though, for doing something that I've never seen done before or since. And like Andrew said, speaking of it as an opera, I've not seen a filmed opera in that way. I don't think I've ever seen a movie like that, where every line of dialogue is sung and everything is a musical piece. So it's really interesting and original. I mean, but it was hard for me to connect with. Yeah, and it did have some odd choices in the editing.
Yeah, because in today's society, if you were to take a traditional opera like La Boheme or something and turn it into a movie, they would definitely cut it down so there was dialogue, because people don't want to sit through 2 hours of people singing. I mean, it's you would have a hard time, I think, selling that to production houses nowadays. So I think it would be interesting to see if anybody even would try to attempt something like that.
It's definitely a bold choice. Yep. To put that on the screen, basically, without all the the standard way of film, the language of filmmaking is a very useful tool in conveying emotions, and having to emote everything through singing, I think adds a new level of complexity and difficulty to what you're doing, especially when you're talking about it being in the 60s, where you don't have all the technology you would have today to pull that off.
Yeah, and your tone of voice and sarcasm and stuff are very difficult to portray when you're singing.
Yes, and I felt that hurt the acting slightly in places, how hard it was to emote while singing, and I think that's where some of the strange grabbing and forceful petting and holding of each other came into place. It looked almost melodramatic, and I think that might just be an attempt to get a emotion across when it's hard to do that in your singing voice.
Or you're just creepy and you're a stalker.
That's
true,
possible too. It's possible these people are completely weird randos.
All right, time's up, guys.
We don't know.
Time's up. All right, let's put it to a vote. Gabe.
Directing. Yeah, I think I have to go with La La Land on this one too.
All right. Andrew?
I'm going to actually go with Umbrellas on this one.
Oh, my.
Ooh.
Tom?
I'm going to go with La La Land.
Okay. Did you find any info that you were looking for?
I did not. I looked up Umbrellas of Cherbourg Focus and Blur, and it just gave me a list of Blu-rays. So, I don't know.
Kyle?
I hate it when Google thinks I'm dumb.
Google's like, no one has ever Googled this. Are you sure you want to know this information?
This is unique. This is the first time in
just Google comes back blank. I'm like,
I could write books on the
results.
film stuff I've looked up and couldn't find.
Answers I Couldn't Find by Tom Haggis. I'd read it. I'm going to go with La La Land.
All right. Okay, this is only one piece of trivia because it spans both films. Director Damien Chazelle cites The Umbrellas of Cherbourg as a principal source of inspiration for his Oscar-winning La La Land.
What a
It's
coincidence.
also one of his all-time favorite films. So I want to ask you, Tom, because you are kind of the Criterion guy. When was The Umbrellas of Cherbourg released by Criterion? Was it before La La Land or was it after?
way before.
Okay.
Way before. I think
Okay.
I think it was one of the first 100. So,
It said it was number 217, if I remember right.
oh, is it 217?
Yeah. I
So
thought
they just passed 1,000. So
or 716. Sorry.
what?
Yeah.
Wow, we
Spine
waited a
spine
long
number
time for that.
716. So I was
Wow.
wondering when that would coincide with La La Land.
Yeah, that still would have been like 10 years ago, I think.
Okay. Yeah, because they don't generally pick every movie. They're very conscious of what they choose.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
15th of every month we can announce a new one. So, yeah, I think. I mean, I guess if I had to guess, I'd probably say, nope. I guess I don't see it.
Okay. All right. I was just curious.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to our fourth and final round. Overall.
Talked about most of the overall. One thing that we a lot of times do talk about, though, in overall, we talk about music. And since both of these films, music was basically the main focus. The first thing we'll talk about with La La Land, yes, everyone actually sang. Both Ryan and Emma are credited for their singing voices, and music was actually introduced for dancing and singing, and there was still dialogue. And I don't know, and Tom may be able to tell us, but I don't remember if there was actually a song, an Oscar song that came out of La La Land, and I would guess if there wasn't, that was the goal. But none of the music in La La Land was memorable. And I've seen it 3 times now. And I mean, yeah, it pushed the story along. And I can't remember any songs that I was like, oh, that song, somebody just cranked that out in the middle of the night. Like, there weren't any that are bad, but there were none that I'm like, oh, that's a pretty amazing song. I really liked it and want to perform it or something. Yes, it looked like you potentially have. No.
What?
But I will say for Umbrella, and this may add to some of the unique acting, none of the actors sang. So all of the singing is credited to other performers. So even on set, it would be really weird because I'm not sure what they were doing on set.
Yeah.
They were just like,
What did that sound like
mouthing,
if they didn't have
or
good voices?
were they just like randomly singing their lines so that way it synced up. I don't know. That would be really unique. But I know
that's
that
another technical hurdle. I mean,
That's a hell,
especially
that's
to
a
sync
hell
it
of a
up,
job.
especially
Yeah,
in the
that's a hell of a job.
60s.
Yeah,
You know, and so I would guess that they had playback on set. That would be my guess to make it a little bit easier. But, you know, I know that, you know, when you sing and you really sing instead of lip sync something, when you really sing, it normally comes across. You can act your emotion. You can act the feel that you're trying to go through when you're singing. When you're lip syncing, it's kind of like you're just kind of going through the motions. And so it's difficult to portray some of those emotions that we've talked about. And maybe, Kyle, that's where some of the oddities came in, is that they weren't actually singing that stuff. They were just kind of lip syncing it. And so you get kind of less of a performance from your person. Umbrellas, this is my, you know, my summary overall. I had never seen Umbrellas. I didn't know about it. Tom has graciously brought it to my attention. It was an opera. It was very fascinating to watch. I did not know there was a movie out there like this. It was entertaining. La La Land, like I said, I've seen it before. I also, you know, kind of jumped on the bandwagon because everyone was talking about it at the Oscars, and so I wanted to watch it, and I was relatively disappointed. It was just kind of an okay movie. It was, you know, neat. Didn't feel that it was Oscar worthy, in my opinion. I've seen Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling in Crazy Stupid Love, I think is the title. Yeah, right? Yep. Crazy Stupid Love. Way more chemistry, way funner of an acting experience between those two than they did in La La Land. And, you know, Ryan Gosling, even in, we mentioned The Nice Guys earlier, fantastic job in that. Like, that movie is hilarious, and he does a fantastic job. And I think they kind of missed the mark. Granted, they may have had a lot of fun, and I'm sure that it's awesome. They learned piano and they sang, and the choreography, as we mentioned, I think that's the one big thing we mentioned, was phenomenal. They did a wonderful job dancing and doing the traditional musical, but overall as a film, that's my summary.
I think La La Land fits into that category of a good movie. It's got hallmarks of quality. It's got the things you expect from a good movie. Not a great movie or a transcendent movie or anything incredible. And I think that's what was kind of disappointing after hearing about all the hype from La La Land after watching it. It was like, okay, I get why people like this movie, and I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's a bad movie or an average movie. I think it's a good film, but it's not like world breaking. It doesn't reinvent anything that hasn't already been done before. It doesn't. It's not so exceptional or have exceptional performances or anything like that. I think its strongest aspect is its choreography. Some of its musical numbers, the way they're put together. I think the music in La La Land to me was more memorable than maybe what you felt. I think if there's one song that came out of that, it would probably be that City of Stars song that repeats so many times during the movie. I feel like that's the kind of song that gets nominated for an Oscar. But it didn't stand out to me like, oh, this is one of my like top 10 films or top 50 films I've ever seen in my life. I was surprised by how much I liked it. Because I went in dreading it. I think Umbrellas of Cherbourg is a better movie than I think it is. And I think that way because it took a lot of risks and it did something creative. And I think it should be cherished for that in a way, because I've not seen a movie that's done that before. I think my problem connecting with it was that there were just too many barriers between me and the film. And maybe if I had gone in expecting it to be a French opera, I would have had a better experience, but I really didn't know what I was getting into. And it's kind of jarring at the start. And I think Andrew mentioned it earlier. It came apart where I was like, this opening song is not ending. And then it slowly dawns on you
and
that
it's not really a song,
right? That these
no
are people
chorus
just
or
talking,
verse.
right? There are repetition of musical pieces throughout the film, but no like songs or musical numbers.
Yeah,
so that right, and that makes it that made it harder for me to connect with. Maybe it's that repetition that musicals get you into, or having I don't know what it is that separates a musical from an opera in this way when it's filmed. I'm not technically savvy to that, but it was interesting, and I think I may have missed some of the beauty of Umbrellas just because I didn't connect with it for so long while watching it. But I think it deserves a lot of credit for what it did.
Yeah, it was definitely. I feel like it was probably a groundbreaking film in its time. But I think, like you said, one of the barriers for me was it being, in a foreign language and having to read subtitles, and then not knowing, it's like, well, I mean, is there some sort of musicality here other than the fact that there's kind of like all the dialogue is kind of sing-songy? I mean, are there rhymes or some kind of rhythm to it that I'm missing because I'm not speaking French? I mean, do any of you know any French?
I didn't know, and I didn't catch up. I didn't pick up on anything either, and that was one of the things. Is there's no like thematic. There's not Guy's kind of phrase or melody that he is kind of related to that I felt like would have helped tell the story better if they had kind of utilized some of those things. But it really was just kind of almost as if there wasn't any music written to start with. Then they just told the actors, sing your lines. So
right, and that's kind of what it felt like. I mean, they were all in the same key and everything, but it's like there wasn't any kind of rhythm or rhyme or repetition that you kind of come to associate with music and musicals in particular. And I think there was certain phrasing that was repeated, but it was very subtle, and it wasn't what we have come to expect, from a musical. But I think that's also that the flip side of that is that's also what makes it so unique. I didn't think about it the way Andrew has mentioned, of it being like an opera, but I was thinking, well, this is more of a pure musical where they're actually just singing everything. Right. It's not like a regular movie where they suddenly break out into song and it's okay. It makes sense in this context, which most musicals are. They do regular normal acting through a good portion of it, and then every once in a while, for whatever reason, they break out into some musical number. This was like they're singing this from beginning to end, and it was a really unique experience.
You haven't seen a lot of operas, have you?
No, I really haven't.
No, that's okay. I just I mean, from the way we talk about some of these things, it very much is operatic. Like, not all opera has to be the and the kind of stuff. Opera is, we sing everything. There is no spoken dialogue, and that is very, very. That's a traditional opera. And so when I got about 20 minutes in and realized that's what I was seeing, I was like, oh, okay. So maybe I judged it maybe differently than some would.
In an opera, would you say that there's like musical things that they come back to? No?
Not necessarily. There's a lot of opera that it doesn't. You wouldn't walk away from an opera and go, you know what? That was a catchy tune, that one scene that they sang, because that's going through my head the whole time. You just don't have that.
Okay.
Normally.
But on the other hand, too, you've got, I mean, the City of Stars is, when that first comes on, you're like, oh, that's kind of catchy, but then they just beat it to fucking death, and by the time you get to the end of the movie, you're like, da 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 da. I'm like, it's such a simple song. Why did I ever like this 20 minutes, an hour ago? The other thing I want to say, yeah, Yeah, no, I know. And the other thing too, I want to say that so the criterion for Umbrellas, Mike, very intuitive here. The criterion for Umbrellas actually came out 6 weeks after La La Land lost Best Picture. So after the infamous La La Land Moonlight debacle. So 6 weeks later, Criterion put out Umbrellas. So I do think La La Land's success had something to do with Umbrellas getting the Criterion release. So there's that. I would just say, you know, like I said at the beginning, I think that La La Land is so great to so close to greatness, and for me, it's just that last just dismissal of each other, and I would not want to be friends with these people. And there's a stereotype that people in Los Angeles are shallow, and this movie does them no favors. That I'm sorry. I love Los Angeles. I think it's a great town, and all of my favorite things come from Los Angeles. But this movie, I was like, if I was from Los Angeles, I'd be like, what are you fucking doing? You guys are just like, you're perpetrating the stereotype. And I think, honestly, the best thing that ever happened was La La Land losing Best Picture to Moonlight in the way that it did, because it would only like, oh, wow, the Oscars gave the movie to the movie about themselves. Like, it gave the Oscar to the movie about themselves. Big shocker. And so I think, it just really frustrates me too. And they're just, that's the one thing I couldn't get past in this movie, that these people were just so shallow and such assholes. And I don't know. And Genevieve and Guy have their own fucking asshole. I mean, Jesus, 3 months, yep. Genevieve, come on.
3 months.
And not only that,
yeah.
He went to war, for God's sake.
He went to war.
He could have been injured.
As soon as he
on the battlefield dying.
She didn't know about it, but he was coming back to all of Aunt Lisa's, piles of money. Like, they would have been set if she had been a little fucking patient. But
he talks about
understanding.
I'll wait for you. I'll die for you. Well, fuck, it's been 90 days. Sorry, Key. Fuck yourself.
I can't live without you.
I've got 3 CDs from Columbia House. I've got to give up on this.
I have seen Kickstarter people with better commitment than this fucking bitch.
Yeah. Also, to marry a man you were not interested in the slightest.
And
right.
Yeah. Pushed away
right.
The entire time your mother has been like, no, you should marry him. And she's like, no. Marry him. No.
You know what? I'm going to apologize to Damien Chazelle. He did. He was clearly influenced by everything in Umbrellas of Cherbourg. The colors, the music, and the fucking assholes.
Well put. I'm not even going to compete with that. Well said, Tom. Let's put it to a vote.
Would murder the
Andrew.
mother if she treated you like that. Like,
God, she was all.
Rewatchability. We always say rewatchability.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would rewatch Umbrellas. I'm glad I saw it, but I'm not sure I would want to. I would intentionally sit through it. I wasn't super excited about seeing La La Land a second time because it had been a while and I felt like I needed to watch it in order to kind of remember details. But I wasn't super excited about it. I still enjoyed it, and if I were told I had to watch one or the other, I would definitely move back toward La La Land, I think.
Kyle?
Andrew, what was your vote?
I'm sorry. Did I talk over your vote, Andrew? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I thought we were talking rewatchability first.
We're all times up.
No, that's okay. I would say La La Land.
All right. Tom?
I have to go Umbrellas of Cherbourg, the original asshole film.
The original assholes.
Yeah.
Kyle.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to say this, and I think I'm wrong. I'm going to vote for La La Land, and I think I might be wrong about that.
Wow. All right.
I think Umbrellas might be a better movie, but I just don't know it yet.
Okay. All right.
Because I couldn't connect with it.
All right. Gabe?
Yeah, I'm based on what I was saying about rewatchability. Obviously, I think I'm going to have to go with La La Land.
Okay. Yeah, you guys have summed up everything that I was thinking the entire time watching these films, because I never hurried up to go watch La La Land. I just remember sitting over at Tom's place watching the Oscars, and I just remember Tom was like, if La La Land wins, I'm going to be very disappointed. Like, no one was saying good things about La La Land at that party whatsoever. And so it just kind of, I was like, I don't need to watch it. And then we do an episode about it, and I have to watch it. And I will say this. The cinematography is brilliant, and you guys have beat that horse to death. And I think that's the only saving grace of the movie. Honestly. Maybe the performances. I mean, Emma Stone, she's just fantastic, but the writing for the characters is just just don't care about it. But the cinematography is what I watch it for, or I would watch it again for. The crew had a limited time window of 30 minutes. Director of photography Linus Sandgren said it was exactly 7:20 to 7:50 p.m. within 2 days to film the magic hour dusky purple twilight Hollywood Hills dance sequence. According to Damien Chazelle, Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling managed 5 takes in 2 days, where after each take they would go back to the starting point with the assistants wiping their sweat before starting the dance routine again. The 4th take is the one used in the film. Could you imagine that? 30 minutes for this highly choreographed piece, and you have to nail it like every time. The Umbrella shop still exists at 13 Rue de Port in Cherbourg and is marked with a plaque commemorating the film.
So it's really an umbrella shop?
It is. Well, it's a...
Or
yeah.
It's just a shop.
It's a shop. I don't know if it's still an umbrella shop. I mean, it says the umbrella shop still exists. Rosalie Vardademi, I butchered that beautiful name, was a team member of this film's restoration project in 2013. She was the little girl in the black Mercedes, Genevieve's daughter, at the end of the film.
Interesting.
Wow.
In
That's
1963. Cool. I thought that was an amazing piece of trivia right there.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so there's a lot of good trivia about La La Land. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of trivia about the Umbrellas of Cherbourg. But the pieces that are like the little girl restoring the film are great little tidbits. All right. While I attempt to do math once again, I'm going to ask you guys your recommendations for this month, and we will start it off with Tom.
So, if you're sitting around one day and you want to watch a movie about jazz, but you can't bring yourself to make it through La La Land, I understand. I don't think I'll have rewatchability for either of these movies, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I'll ever watch either of them again. One pisses me off. The other one just frustrates me a little bit. So I recommend that you watch the new movie from Disney and Pixar called Soul. It is absolutely fantastic. It uses music in the way that neither of these two films could even hope to accomplish. And it is a wonderful, beautiful film. And it gets deeper into not just jazz, but just the things that we're passionate about more than any film I've ever seen. So, Soul and then maybe Inside Out is a nice little double pairing. Would be a really great double film, double feature for you. So check out Soul. I'm sure most of you have, but if you haven't, check it out.
We actually haven't watched Soul yet. We've got to get Liam to want to watch it, but I think he would really like it because he loves music. So
you know what? There's some really deep philosophy stuff in there. So if it's a movie he doesn't watch till he's 12, I'd be honest, you might be better off just waiting and
All right.
give him a little treat when he's older. So,
All right.
it's
Fair
deep.
enough.
Yeah, I've heard great things.
So have I.
I want to see, and I'm a big fan. I watch Colbert pretty much every night, and don't roll your eyes, Mike. And so obviously, there's that connection, and then I really love Trent Reznor too. So
Does Trent Reznor do the music for Soul? Hold on, wait.
Trent,
you just
Trent
blew
Reznor
my
and
mind.
Atticus Ross are part of it.
I got some for this.
You just blew my mind. Like, I mean, I know he's composing now, but that's just crazy.
Oh, did you get the vinyl?
Oh, Tom's got the vinyl.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get my hands on that.
Oh, Jesus.
Whoa.
Is that loud?
That was very loud.
The springs on my articulating arm. But yeah, I got Soul on vinyl.
Nice.
Nice.
Wait.
Trent Reznor.
All right.
Reznor's very big into the vinyl thing too.
Nice.
Yeah.
I thought it was
when you
weird.
get done.
I was just going to say, I thought it was weird when I Want to Fuck You Like an Animal came on during that movie, but now it makes sense.
Yeah, especially because he was in the body of a cat at the time.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
sometime.
When you get done watching the movie, there's some really cool trivia about Trent Reznor and like how early, because usually they bring the composer in towards the end of the movie,
Right.
but Trent Reznor was there from like the scripting phase, so that they were working the music and the themes in from the very beginning before they'd even recorded voices. It was
really
amazing.
do
So,
wanna
I'm
watch
sorry, somebody else talk.
Kyle.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
So I'm going to nominate a TV show, and that has anything to do with either of these two movies, but it's one I started watching again, and I would bet money I've recommended it before, but I don't remember because my brain is pickled from all the Mike's Hard Lemonade that I drink. So that's not a euphemism, by the way. I don't drink any of Mike's Hard Lemonade. If anybody out there is looking to read something into that.
But your mom does.
I was looking not to read that into it.
On that note, anyways, Mike is never going to be my stepdad. I don't care if he marries my mom. I'll never call you dad. Anyways, I'm going to recommend the TV Western from HBO, Deadwood. If you've never seen it, it's probably one of the best written shows I've ever seen in my entire life. I think it's one of the best written shows ever made, in my opinion. And rewatching it again, I was kind of dreading because I've started it about 4 times and gotten through the second season. And then for whatever reason, I never finished it. So now I am going through it, watching it with Heather. And it is just a joy to watch because it is such high levels of craftsmanship in display and acting and directing and writing that it is, to me, it is very enriching to watch. And I've never seen a movie or a show with more fucks or swears or cocksuckers in it in my entire life. So if you are put off by language or sudden brutal violence, maybe Deadwood isn't for you. But if you are interested, yeah, right. I'm good for one explicit tag each episode at least. But I can't recommend Deadwood highly enough.
So one of the reasons I ever watched Deadwood was because you told me how good it was, right? Like I never really had any interest.
Before I did.
And I watched it and I absolutely fell in love with that show. And I mean, let's face it, there are a lot of us that are Western fans on this podcast. And that movie or TV show and movie, right? Because they kind of do a movie to end it all, is just fantastic. It's so well written, and it's written in the language of the time, which makes it even better. Yeah,
yes,
good.
And what a task it must have been to write all that dialogue.
Absolutely.
But it's incredibly written and amazingly performed. So if you've never watched Deadwood and you're into Westerns or just want to watch something of an incredibly high level of quality, check out Deadwood.
Agreed. All right, Gabe.
Well, I've been struggling with this. My intention was to watch a bunch of movies I've been interested in and then pick one. And I just haven't had time, in spite of the pandemic and all that. So I'm going to have to go back. I was trying to think, of musicals. I was trying to relate it in a very typical fashion. And I don't watch a lot of musicals. But one I remember enjoying quite a bit is Sweeney Todd with Johnny Depp. I liked it because it's very dark, and I think as far as musicals are concerned, it's a little bit more masculine because of that the darkness and the violence. And I thought the performances were good. I'm not sure I was a huge fan of what's her name? All I can think of is Marla Singer because I know her from.
Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah, Helena Bonham Carter. I felt like she was kind of cast because her husband.
She's screwing the director.
Yeah, and I just didn't think her performance was that great. But aside from that, it was actually kind of a fun and enjoyable, and it's a classic musical that everybody probably already knows. So. I think that's a musical that I would go back and watch. So if you've never seen Sweeney Todd, go ahead and check it out.
I still have not watched that game.
It's been a little while, but I remember enjoying it quite a bit. It's got a very, I don't know. It's just different. It's dark,
right?
Different and a little goofy, but I enjoyed it.
All right. Andrew.
Yeah, I'm gonna take us back a little bit, and we're gonna go back a little bit before Umbrellas and go back to the 50s. I felt that we probably should talk a little bit. I don't know, recommend a musical. This is probably my favorite musical, original style musical, because Little Shop of Horrors has a little place in my heart. But this one is one of the original style type musicals that people would normally think of when they think of a musical. It's done on a sound stage. There's a lot of like backdrops. Marlon Brando, Frank Sinatra's in it, Stubby Kaye, Gene Simmons, all your traditionals. And that, of course, is Guys and Dolls. It's probably my all-time favorite musical of that time, and it's fun. It's got great music. It's lots of great dancing. The story's quite humorous, as they were at the time, with the back and forth and the running around and the double face. That's not really, because you're just trying to get them into a weird situation, and the teasing, and it's a lot of fun to watch. So I really enjoy it. Go out and watch Guys and Dolls.
Good pick, Andrew. Also, I want you to do a shameless plug here at this point. You have actually done a musical.
I've done multiple musicals.
Right. But there's one musical in particular that two of the people on this podcast have been a part of.
West Side Story or West Side Jedi?
Yeah, West Side Jedi.
That's right. Yeah, you guys were both in West Side Jedi. And you got to dance a little bit. And
I've never been so sore after a shoot in my life.
And you got to, play with some lightsabers and pretend you were all crazy Siths that like to sing and dance. For those who don't know, West Side Jedi is a parody of West Side Story, pretty much shot for shot, with the music rewritten and everything. So it's set in the Star Wars universe, but has the same slang and dialogue that you would see from the 50s of the time. So yeah, it was a good time.
That was so much fun.
Mike and Kyle have both been a part of that. So
yep, that was a lot of fun.
It was.
All right. So we've done a lot of musicals on this podcast, and I feel like I've run out of musicals to recommend. So I'm actually going to go against what I usually try to do, which is recommend something in the same genre. And this is actually a documentary. It's a miniseries that you can find on Netflix. and it is called The Ripper. And it's about, it essentially interviews investigators and witnesses, and they recall how a modern day Jack the Ripper terrorized the north of England during the 1970s. And I have to be honest, like, I was sitting on the edge of my seat for all the episodes because I kept trying to figure out who it was. And they do a fantastic job of not giving away who it was until towards the end, right? Like you know, you're listening to what the policemen are saying, you're listening to what the politicians are saying, what the, you know, and at the very end, you're like, what the hell? Like, really, it was in front of them the whole time and they didn't choose it. But definitely check out on Netflix. It's called The Ripper. It's a very well done documentary. And I believe it is 3 episodes long, and I think each episode is an hour. It's either 3 or 4. It's very well done, so check it out. I know I told you, Kyle, about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you guys want to find out who won? Let's poke the monkey.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner, by decision, is La La Land!
Yeah.
Can you sing that, Mike, for us? Can you sing the winner?
No, but maybe I can talk to the monkey and see if he can sing it.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want me singing. That's for sure.
It's not that fun.
Well, thank you, Andrew. All right. Where can people find you? Maybe ask you to dance during Magic Hour. We'll start with Tom. You're muted, Tom.
People can just find me curled up in my bed, wrapped up in a blanket, waiting for spring that just does not seem to want to get here. So,
Dear God.
hey, good news. Let's see. Today's Wednesday, so 7 more days, we might get to 10 degrees. So,
Yeah.
All right.
We're having a heat wave, a tropical
holy
heat
shit!
wave.
It got to 13 yesterday, and I was like, "Fuck my coat."
Yeah.
Tom was out
my
in
pants.
T-shirts and a shorts.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no wind. It feels actually kind of nice.
All right, Kyle.
You can find me in Tom's bed waiting for breakfast to come. It's fresh squeezing my OJ, if you know what I mean.
I told you this morning you're gonna have to get it yourself.
But I don't want to get out of bed because I'm all nakies. In flagrante delecto, if you know what I mean.
Waffles!
You have nothing to be ashamed.
Waffles!
You have nothing to be ashamed. You have nothing to be ashamed of. Get them waffles.
Waffles. Boy, howdy, waffles is a great way to describe my naked body. All covered in pockets and covered in syrup and butter. Sounds about right. You can find me on TikTok. I'll be singing my life story, where I leave nothing to the imagination, not even my most deepest thoughts. And it's going to be odd, and it's going to take you a while to get into because I do it in Hindi. So,
Will there be subtitles?
there will be. I just got to find somebody who can understand Hindi, and I got to learn Hindi, and I got to get it translated to American.
To American.
Oh my God, my head
Only
hurts.
If there's subtitles in Sanskrit, will I watch?
Okay, I'll see.
Can you
I might have
translate
get
it
on
to
Fiverr and
wingding?
see if someone will do that for me.
Gabe.
Wow. Yeah, you can find me hibernating too. Man. Yeah, Tom's right. This it's awful right now here in the Midwest. You can find our films on onegenomeshort.com and on YouTube as well.
All right. All right, Andrew.
Yeah, that place. You can go out to ArizonaInkStudios.com and you can check out all of our films, pander through social media that we never go to and never really post, but you can find wonderful links to all of these podcasts and such. So, yeah, come on and see us.
All right. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I mean, I just post one stupid meme a day. But you can also find our films on YouTube. Just search Southsider Studios. And we, the royal we, Kyle, would appreciate...
What I call my wang.
Would appreciate it if you could leave us a review on iTunes or whatever podcasting service you use. It helps us reach new listeners. If you like us, tell your friends. If you hate us, tell your enemies. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Cinesmack. For March, we hunker down in our bunkers as Anna and the Apocalypse takes on the Scout's Guide to the Apocalypse to try to see who can survive. For Gabe, Kyle, Andrew, Tom, and myself, thanks for listening and go catch a flick.
Au revoir, Francois. Au revoir. Not you, Francois. The girl Francois.
The girl Francois.
Yeah.
Hold on, guys.
Oh.
I don't understand.
Oh.
Wow, he has to block it. Oh.
Hey!
Hey! What's up, Liam?
Do you want to say hi?
Hi.
Hi, Liam. How are you?
We're doing.
What are we
you hear us?
doing?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
We're making your dad look good.
What?
What? Yeah, exactly.
He's like, that's impossible. What do you mean?
That sounds hard to do, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tall task.
You make
What
your
do you-
dad look good.
What are you drinking there, man?
No, all of
Milk.
them.
Milk?
Milk.
It is almost 10 o'clock, young man. You should be... Oh, my goodness. You're a party animal.
And
Oh,
I
that's
got
okay.
caught. Boom, boom, boom.
Nice.
Cool.
Little car.
We could have used a couple of those in these movies.
Yeah, car chases.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
Singing
That'd have
car
been great.
chases.
There's an idea. Write that down.
Singing car chases.
A musical car chase.
There you go.
You do that.
We will do that.
I'm going
Bye,
to bed.
Can you
Good
tell the
night.
guys good night?
Good night.
Bye.
Night.
Hey, buddy.
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.
The most wonderful time of the year. Although, let's be honest, around the holidays, things really add up. But here's the good news. Only at Verizon, you can get a single line for $50 per month when you switch and bring your phone. So, while ice skating for two is definitely costing more, here at Verizon, you can save. Gifts for your third cousins? Steep. A single line with Verizon? Not so steep. A real tree? Pricey. A single line with Verizon? Less pricey. Flights to see Mima and Pops? Those are up. A $50 per month single line? That's down. Even a trip to the Atlanta Holiday Market will cost you more. But with Verizon, you can switch and bring your phone for just $50 per month for a single line on unlimited welcome, with autopay plus taxes and fees. All this to say, during the holiday season, when everything is costing more, you can get more for less right now at a local Verizon store. $15 monthly promo credits applied over 36 months with a new line on unlimited welcome. In times of congestion, unlimited 5G, 4G LTE may be temporarily slower than other traffic. Domestic data roaming at 2G speeds. Additional terms apply.